Hi, welcome to On the Edge. I'm your host, Matthew Wexler, and you are watching Edge Media Network, your go-to source for LGBTQ plus news and entertainment. I remember obsessing about what I was going to wear on the first day of school. We would go shopping for fall clothes. My mom would take me shopping, and no matter what the temperature was on that first day, I could usually be found standing at the bus stop wearing a very hot and heavy flannel plaid shirt, not unlike the shirt I am wearing today. Of course, I realize now sweating through that first day is a luxury, right? I had parents that could afford to outfit me in the latest fashion. They supported me when I came out as gay. But not every kid is as lucky as I was. And even though I had a stable home life, there were plenty of days that I was teased and bullied too. Fortunately, there are more resources than ever to help kids, parents, and educators navigate these tough teen times. Today's episode brings together two of these leading organizations, the Hetrick-Martin Institute for LGBTQ plus Youth and Hope in a Box. And I am so excited to have these conversations and bring these leaders together as well. According to the Trevor Project, 75% of LGBTQ plus youth surveyed reported that they had experienced discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity at least once in their lifetime. You know, we've come a long way, but there's so much more to go, as exemplified by our first guest. Bridget Hughes is the Chief Program Officer for the Hetrick-Martin Institute, which reaches thousands of youth across the country each year. Here is just one story of a life touched by HMI.
My name is Ray. I grew up in Queens, New York. I moved around a lot. My family originated from Taipei, Taiwan. I couldn't imagine coming out because it was not something expected of me. I found HMI because I was looking for a counselor, and HMI has a lot of them. Before, I didn't imagine what life would be like outside of the closet. With HMI, I started imagining and wondering what life would be like. Would I ever get married to somebody? It restored my belief that there's so much good in the world and people do care.
What I imagine for my future is I want to see a world where I'm unemployed. Why? Because I represent homeless youth 25 and under, and I want to see a world where there won't be any homeless youth 25 and under. These are youth that are able to create change, but they're facing issues of poverty, they're facing issues of lack of education, they're facing the issues of being kicked out into the street, and that's where HMI comes in.
Help me imagine a world where every voice counts.
Help me imagine safe schools for all LGBTQ youth.
Help me imagine a safer and more inclusive world for LGBTQ youth.
Help me imagine a world free of hate, a world where everyone is treated equally.
I am so excited to learn more about HMI's work. And I'm reminding you that we are live. If you have questions, please join the conversation, drop them in the chat, and hopefully we can answer them for you and start a dialogue with our viewers and our guests as well. Please join me in welcoming HMI's Chief Program Officer, Bridget Hughes. Hey, Bridget.
Hey, Matthew.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here. It was fun seeing that video of HMI staff and alumni.
Yeah, it really is beautiful and sort of really captures the essence of your organization. You know, it's been around for over 25 years, but for those that aren't familiar with HMI, can you just sort of give us a snapshot of its origin? Who are Hetrick, who are Martin? It sounds like a cologne I want to wear.
Oh, that's a good one. HMI is actually, we celebrated our 40th year. So
40?
HMI was founded in 1979. Okay. And Dr. Emery Hetrick and Damian Martin, our founders, were gay men who were really active in the New York City LGBT movement, and they responded in a moment of crisis when a 14-year-old young man who was gay was kicked out of an emergency shelter. He had been beaten up by other shelter guests, and sort of the staff weren't helpful. They blamed it on him. They blamed him for the violence against him. told him if he wasn't so flamboyant or out that it wouldn't have happened, kind of thing. And because of his assault, and the Hetrick-Martin brought together community members, mostly mental health service providers who were active in the lesbian and gay movement back then, in order to found an organization. Originally, what it was called was the Institute for the Protection of Lesbian and Gay Youth. So that was the mission, and they weren't sure right at the beginning whether or not it would be an advocacy organization primarily or a service organization. But young people kept coming, kept knocking on the door, looking for adults to help. And so the Institute grew in both directions, providing services directly to young people and doing advocacy work to, create change in systems of care.
Yeah. And it's so important that those two things sort of exist simultaneously together and intersect. Could you tell us a little bit more about what some of that programming is, both in terms of the direct service and as well sort of the advocacy side of things?
Sure. Well, an important thing to know is that Emory Hetrick was a psychiatrist. And so mental health has been an important part of HMI's work all along. And it is today. So many, many young people come to us looking for support and services around past trauma and around their mental health. And so that's a key part of what we do. But we're also a drop-in space and an after-school program, providing young people with opportunities to connect to one another and create social networks and peer support, and to get peer education around health and wellness and being able to thrive as an LGBTQ person in the world. We also have programs specifically around education. So academic enrichment programs for young people who are in high school, as well as a high school equivalency program. This past year, we worked with the state around the waivers for young people who were seeking to get their diplomas. And this year we passed almost over 40 young people got their diplomas through HMI's high school equivalency program, which was exciting. We also have HIV prevention programs, HIV testing, and we link young people to PrEP and PEP programs so that they can sort of prioritize their health around preventing HIV. And then we have a lot of paid internships and job readiness programs helping young people get ready for the working world, explore careers, and connect with higher education. So we have a college prep program as well. And then we have outreach programs that where we're training young people and staff to go out and to reach young people who may be disconnected from LGBT community, LGBT services. So we're doing street outreach, really looking to connect with young people who are experiencing homelessness, as well as peer outreach programs that are really trying to connect young people to LGBT friendly services.
It's a lot. You have your hands full as a chief program officer and a lot of different directions, which is incredible. I'm curious from your perspective, this is probably a difficult question to answer because every person's experience is unique unto themselves, but from your observation and having worked with the organization for a long time, is there something that you feel, generally speaking, LGBTQ plus kids need most when they come to HMI? Is it a sense of belonging? Is it the critical intervention because of family or social pressures, a combination of those things? Is there some overriding driving force that's bringing kids to you at the onset?
Well, I can share with you a little bit about what our intake data shows in terms of what young people are prioritizing when they're walking in the door in terms of their needs. But I will say that, like, our sort of blanket thing is that HMI's model and our approach to youth work is that we're centering LGBTQ youth experience and affirming and celebrating the LGBT parts of their identity and who they are. And I think in some ways we do that all the time because it's healing and affirming for staff too, to say the LGBTQ parts of you are important and beautiful and are worthy of celebrating, right? and then we move from there, into really trying to understand young people through an intersectional lens, right? Like that young people are often, as they're walking into HMI, they're dealing not only with the sort of harms caused by homophobia and transphobia and heteronormativity being pushed on them, but they're also often dealing with the impacts of systemic racism and poverty and so lots of issues coming together. And then what we know from speaking with new young people who are walking in for intakes is that getting a job is a really big issue on the minds of young people as they come to HMI, and that's probably because thinking about the working world as an LGBTQ young person can be scary. They're thinking about discrimination, thinking about like, can I be myself in places outside of, wherever they are at the moment. And then also issues of, around income and poverty are top. The other thing is mental health. So young people coming to us often feeling sort of isolated. Many young people are dealing with family rejection or with feeling unsafe at school, or just not solid and secure in their own skin, and looking for support around that.
Yeah. In terms of school, it's a great segue to talk about Harvey Milk High School. I don't know. I mean, I'm familiar with it because I've lived in New York, and it was just so exciting to see the school open years ago. But for those that aren't familiar with what Harvey Milk High School is, what is it, and how are kids being cultivated to attend? Yeah,
well, this is an exciting year because Harvey Milk High School is accepting ninth graders for the first time. So the story behind the school is that HMI founded what was then called the Harvey Milk School, which was a program that was implemented in partnership with the Department of Education, then the Board of Education, as a program to help young people get a diploma, even if they weren't safe attending classes at their home high school. And then it operated that way at HMI, like as a one-room sort of classroom, until a new partnership was formed in order to create Harvey Milk High School as a sort of fully fledged accredited transfer high school within the public school system. And it's operated that way for several, I guess, since 2006 or so. And so the school it's a DOE school. It has a principal and a staff completely separate from HMI, but we get to be we're co-located. So HMI is the landlord for the school, and we get to be the lead partner organization. So we work together to push HMI services into the school, make them really accessible to the students of Harvey Milk, and to provide after school programming and supports, when young people are leaving the school day. And it's a really small school. It's a trauma-informed design. So there's only about 75 young people in the school each year. And they accept young people on a rolling basis as they apply, like transfer high schools do. And it's a vibrant, really wonderful program for young people, and they accept all students as long as they got the right number of credits. But this year is the first year they're piloting with ninth graders, so that part's exciting.
It is. I'm curious what you would say to maybe whether it's people in our own LGBTQ community or outside who don't understand or might think, why do kids need to go to a special high school? Shouldn't we be fixing what's going on in regular high schools so they can attend a regular school and feel welcome and accepted and not discriminated against? And those things don't exist in silos, right? So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on people who might question what's the need for it. Or why, not what's the need for it, but why channel energy into a small high school when these other things could be happening?
I think it's a good challenge, and HMI is working all the time around making sure that all schools are welcoming and affirming to all students, right? And so we do lots of training and advocacy work in that vein, and work with the Department of Education around those issues, to be a resource and to keep that moving. When the Harvey Milk School was originally founded back in the 80s, there were lots and lots of young people who weren't safe in their schools, and that was just a reality. And even today, there are young people, while they may be entitled to safety and policies have changed dramatically in order, in terms of school responsibility to keep young people safe, there are still going to be students who would prefer a smaller environment to a large one. And Harvey Milk High School is there to provide that for all students, even those who don't identify as LGBTQ, right? Like, so the small high school movement is an important piece of making sure that regardless of your learning style or your past history of trauma, that there are places that feel safe for all students. And, students need different things to feel safe depending on what their prior experiences have been. So I think at this point, Harvey Milk fits into a larger vision around how do we create schools with all different sizes, with different focus areas, and with different sets of supports in them for students who have had different experiences.
Yeah. One of your organizational pillars is changing systems of care, is what it's called. And I'm curious what kind of training and advocacy you've developed that is sort of going out on a national level. There's also amazing support from a lot of companies that are recognize what you're doing. We have this great image from DKNY, especially during Pride Month, of course. This is controversial, but a lot of companies are stepping up and partnering with you to get the word out, not just in terms of branding, but in terms of the messaging too. So I'm curious what, on a national level, because we have this great sort of capsule with Harvey Milk High School, but as it sort of moves out on a national level, what sort of ways you're able to reach educators and advocates beyond the scope of New York City?
Yeah, HMI is super excited. We have what we call the Center for LGBT Youth Advocacy and Capacity Building as part of what HMI does. And our director of that center and of advocacy and capacity building, Bryson Rose, his sort of charge and the work that happens over there is all about one, professional development training. So making sure that youth service providers, teachers, mental health providers, parent advocates, all those folks get the training that they need around sexual orientation and gender identity and the sort of skills that you need in order to be able to create inclusive environments, that all that training is happening, and that training is informed in a really close way by the direct service work that HMI does through our program, so that young people's voices inform the training that we provide to professionals who are working with young people. And that includes professionals who are working in emergency shelters, runaway and homeless youth shelters. It includes professionals working in schools, as well as we do a lot of work with other CBOs and after school service providers, making sure that training reaches all levels of those kinds of organizations. There's also work that HMI's developed. We call it our Prism Scan, which is HMI staff working with an organization that wants to take a look and evaluate, like sort of self-assess their own ability in terms of their programs, their policies, the physical environment, and their own professional development around making their program LGBT youth inclusive. So we do a scan, we sort of look at all the different pieces of that and give the organization feedback so that they can then make action plans to make sure that their organization is continually growing towards being inclusive and affirming.
It's so incredible. And we just had a comment that popped up from one of our viewers, Robin, who said, I wish there was something affirming like this in Texas. And I feel like, at least what I'm hearing from you, is there are ways to take some of these resources and models that you've built and implement them. So it's not just this insular thing that's happening, that's really work that's meant to sort of feed out into the rest of the country. It's exciting. We could dig so much deeper. We have another guest that we're going to chat about who's doing similar work. I would love if you could stick around. I have a couple more questions I'd love to ask both of you at the end of the segment.
That sounds great.
Oh, thank you so much, Bridget. Our next organization, Hope in a Box, has swiftly established itself as a go-to resource for educators across the country to encourage and implement LGBTQ plus inclusive reading and curricula. There's so much more to it though than just receiving a big box of books. Let's take a look.
Our organization provides something called Hope in a Box, which is really three things. The first is a curated set of books that have LGBTQ characters. The second is detailed curriculum for those books to make it as easy as possible for educators to actually use them in their classroom. And the third piece is all kinds of peer-to-peer mentorship, community building, training for educators to help them work through all of the questions and scenarios that come up in the classroom as they work with these materials for the first time.
Such great work, and that's just such a small snapshot of what Hope in a Box is doing. I'm thrilled to have Seth Rosen with us. He is the newly appointed Executive Director of Hope in a Box to share how these ideas have turned into a reality. Let's bring him on, Seth Rosen.
Hi, Matthew. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. So that was Joe English, who is the founder of Hope in a Box, just giving us a quick 30-second snapshot of what Hope in a Box is and does. Can you elaborate a little bit about the background of the organization and its origins?
Sure. Exactly like you said, Hope in the Box is actually quite young. We were founded in 2018 with the very simple but audacious goal of making LGBTQ plus inclusive education the standard and the norm rather than the outlier. And it really was founded looking back and seeing that so many people, myself included, I'm sure many of our viewers today, were in classrooms growing up where they saw no LGBTQ plus role models, either in literature, with the teacher, in the educator community at large, and that really has to change. And so Hope in the Box stepped in and sends a really fantastically curated box of 20 to 25 books that have LGBTQ plus characters, plus carefully designed curriculum guides. And I'm thrilled to say we have over 400 pages of curriculum right now, more than any other organization. And then our teachers enter into a holistic community where there's peer-to-peer mentorship, and our community leads lead monthly trainings and community support so that they can both support and create the inclusive classroom, but also teach the curriculum. And quite frankly, it's incredibly powerful to have trusted educators in the classroom doing this work. And I think that's why Hope in a Box is so powerful. We're not coming in from the outside into a classroom. We are there using trusted educators that deliver Hope in a Box curriculum and message of inclusivity, and it's just incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and I guess that was sort of my first question when I first discovered and was reading about the organization. It's kind of a massive undertaking. Any sort of curriculum build out requires a lot of work, and it's very collaborative. So do you have I mean, I'm sure you have a board because you're a nonprofit, but who are the people who are sort of like in the turning the pages and sort of making sure that a particular title fills the appropriate criteria? Here's a shot of a very well designed, I have to say as well, package of books being delivered. So who's pulling all that together?
So it's a great question. It's our rich network of educators that we work with, one, to identify the literature to use. And right now we are in middle school and high school. So though we are looking and we'll actually be launching a pilot program in the future with elementary schools, but our educators suggest the books. And then we work with both the educators and curriculum designers to be sure that we're hitting all of the important points for the curriculum. And we know more than ever, teachers are incredibly stressed. The last 18 months have been so challenging for educators at every level. And we want to make things as easy as possible for them by providing real world curriculum that can be used in the classroom. And so that's what we do. We make sure that what they receive, they can use to teach, but also create this inclusive classroom that's so important. And the other thing I think that's really important about being directly in the classroom is that not only are we creating a safe zone for LGBTQ plus students, but we're really catalyzing and educating the next generation of allies. Students are in the classroom are obviously both queer and straight. And so both the straight and the queer students are hearing about the literature, they're learning together, they're analyzing the characters, they're learning about what's happening in the books. And I think it creates a full circle of both queer and straight advocates.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. We did a story, so we have a features division at Edge called Edge Eye, and we did a story when Illinois announced and launched a statewide mandate for LGBTQ inclusive curriculum. And there's really only, I think it's now maybe 5 or 6 or maybe 7 states in the entire country that mandate LGBTQ inclusiveness. So to have something like this that's an offering that I feel can sort of jumpstart that kind of programming countrywide is pretty incredible. Something else that struck me as I was thinking about this programming is what sort of steps you're taking to ensure that there's diverse representation within the collection of queer literature, so we can make sure that all sorts of stories are being told for all sorts of queer people, whether it's multicultural, socioeconomic, regional.
Absolutely. So many of our students their LGBTQ identity is one part of their full intersectional identity between race, gender, as you said, economic inequality. We work primarily in rural, under-resourced schools. So there are many issues that our students face day to day, including their sexuality or their gender identity. But we work with our educators, and I'm thrilled to say that starting next week, our inclusive book collection, which was up till now called the Hope 50, will become the Hope 100, where we'll have 100, it's really incredible, 100 books that are inclusive with LGBTQ plus themes from early readers through high school. And there will be a search function so that everyone who goes on will be able to say, I'm looking for books that highlight also an intersectional aspect of race or of gender or of religion or of other criterias. All of these are important. But we work with the highest level of educators and curriculum designers to make sure that we're pulling books that represent the full spectrum of LGBTQ plus people, not just white cis men, but everyone is included and reflected. Because not only do we believe that students need to have their sexuality and gender identity reflected in the classroom, but who they are fully as people, whether that is women or non-binary or men or any religion, but their full identity needs to be reflected in the books that we send and that we recommend.
Yeah, I'm curious who the, so you mentioned a lot of these are, a lot of the book boxes are going to rural communities or low income or underserved communities. Who are the actual recipients? I think it'd be interesting to sort of explain to our viewers, is it going to a particular teacher? Is it going to the library? Are there after school programs that have access to this material as well?
So right now it's going to teachers in the classroom. We think that's the most powerful way to make sure that the curriculum and the literature is used. I think we can look and hopefully we'll expand in the future, but right now we actually have a pretty significant waiting list for our books. So we're identifying and working with teachers directly in the classrooms. Teachers apply right online at hopeinabox.org. We work with them and we send boxes out. I'm thrilled to say that we are in almost 500 schools right now and that we have worked with over 70,000 students in order to expose them to LGBTQ plus inclusive literature.
I think it's so cool. I mean, I'm dating myself, but I think back to when I was in school and what I was reading or really not reading, if we're being honest, because I can't tell you of a single openly queer character in a single book that I read through high school. Right.
I agree. It's transformative.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were on the board and have newly stepped into this position as executive director. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm curious what direction you hope to take the organization next. You talked about sort of curating maybe titles for younger students. Do you have thoughts of what a 5-year plan might look like? That you're still incubating this organization, but there's so much potential, I feel, in the directions that it can go.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm completely new to the organization. Our founder, visionary founder, Joe English, has stepped onto the board. And I think over the next 5 years, it is important to be in every classroom that we can be, specifically in rural and Title I under-resourced schools in order to expand our footprint and let teachers know and understand that this resource is here, and then to really work with our community in order to fund more boxes. I think that's incredibly important. We need help in order to be in every school that would like us there and every school that needs us there. And I think that there are actually many schools that are more well-funded that are looking to have this curriculum and these books and this expertise as well. And then part of our plan is to how to leverage that. How do we have schools that can pay for it, then order and then have a box and use whatever they're paying to purchase that box in order to fund the rural Title I schools who need it and could not afford to have the books in any other way. And over time, I think that we can leverage that kind of partnership in order to build our network, to work with our teachers, provide even more teacher training, and expand to schools that need us.
Yeah, it really is an all hands on deck sort of collaborative effort for both your organization and HMI as well. I would love to bring Bridget back. I have a couple questions. There is a question here. Is this fully privately funded? Is there government funding? I'm sure you have a lot of different grant resources, or you're reaching out for different sort of funding opportunities for Hope in a Box.
Yep, right now Hope in a Box is not government funded at all. We rely on individuals and corporations to help us. The video that you showed at the top of the segment was produced by Grant Thornton, who is an amazing partner of ours. We're one of their Purple Paladin organizations. But people can fund us by going to hopeinabox.org. A box costs approximately $500 to put together, including the teacher training and the curriculum development, but we are completely privately funded right now.
Great, great. Let's bring Bridget back. We're going to talk about a few last ideas that I had before we let you go. Hi, Bridget. Good to see you again.
Hi.
I was doing some research, and I saw some data that came from the latest census report, and it showed that almost 15% of same-sex couples in the U.S. have children, compared to about 38% of opposite-sex couples. And I bring this up because I just kind of want to call out the elephant in the room of what we might say to our fellow queer community who might not be so focused on next generation. Maybe this isn't queer youth isn't at the forefront. They're thinking of other causes, about the importance of your work and how we all need to sort of be looking at supporting the next generation. Seth, do you have thoughts?
Sure. I think with Hope in a Box and with HMI, one of the things that's so important is that by supporting Hope in a Box, you're supporting both queer youth, but also the next generation of allies that will move the needle further on all LGBTQ plus equity, inclusion, diversity, and equality initiatives. We learned through marriage that really grew because people knew queer people in their lives. And it's important to really make sure that our straight allies understand the importance of LGBTQ plus equality and the role that they play as well. So I think that there's a lot that's important about it, and paying attention to the next generation will help secure rights for the current generation as well.
Yeah. Bridget, what are your thoughts?
Well said, Seth. The ally piece is super important. Really? And I also think, like in the case of HMI, what you're supporting in supporting our work is a sort of bringing resources to not only the next generation of LGBTQ folks, but in many cases, we're working with young people who've experienced homelessness, who've experienced huge hurdles in their lives and overcome them and sort of persevered. And the sort of knowledge and wisdom that they gain as they move towards adulthood is something that I think you can't underestimate the next big change, the next big thing that they're going to push forward and transform. I can't say enough about what is so spectacular and unique about the young people that we work with. They're amazing human beings, and investing in them, I think we are investing in a world that's going to be that much more amazing.
Yeah, I agree. We're living in challenging times, obviously, because of the pandemic. As a parting thought, I'd love to find out how people can get more involved with both of your organizations. We've been sharing the websites at the bottom. I encourage if people have the ability to donate financially and support is always welcome and hugely important. Are there other ways that people can get involved? Bridget, we can start with you.
Yeah, thank you. We would love for folks to be involved at HMI. We look for volunteers as well as supporters. And like I was telling you before, our ability to graduate young people through our high school equivalency program is a lot to do with our volunteer tutors.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's a way that folks can be involved.
Can they do that remotely now? Can you tutor like from anywhere else in the country?
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't need to be based in New York to be part of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Great to know. Seth, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are a few really easy things that people can do. One, join our mailing list at hopeinabox.org, and then follow us on our social media channels, but also spread the word in your community about the importance of LGBTQ plus inclusive classrooms, and then take our Hope 50, soon to be the Hope 100 next week, and spread that around to friends, family, colleagues, and show people that these are 100 books that are LGBTQ plus inclusive, and that they can change the lives of both families and learning communities and individuals. It's really easy to share. Show them to your library, but get the word out that LGBTQ plus literature can be incorporated into so many areas around you in your home and your community.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, thank you both for such a great conversation. I know we just scratched the surface on the incredible work that both organizations are doing, but hopefully we enlighten some people who maybe were not familiar with your work, and they can continue to get involved and support all that you do. I wish you so much success. We're kicking off a new school year and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks so much. I'm really inspired by their work. And I also have to say, if you haven't read young adult or YA literature, it's really awesome. I've been reading YA literature all summer, sort of as a takeaway, and it's a great escape, and really incredible writers out there. The fall is a great time to consider volunteering. There are plenty of LGBTQ organizations that can use your time and talent. Speaking of talent, next week we have the incredibly talented celebrity chef Josie Smith-Malave joining us on August 31st for the next installment of our Living Sober series in partnership with Recovery Unplugged. She's going to give us some great tips for healthy eating, maintaining sobriety as we approach the fall and the holidays, which are going to be here before you know it. We're on a short hiatus in early September, but returning with a bang when Margaret Cho joins us on September 21st, an episode that you do not want to miss. Of course, you can always tune into edgemedianetwork.com for all the latest news, and follow us on social media to see those breaking stories first. Until next time, live on the edge.